There's an old adage that has guided almost every high-stakes decision I've ever made. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. But when you're living in the suffocating grip of a low income, you aren't thinking about trees. You're thinking about the next 24 hours. You're thinking about survival. I've been there. I've seen how the day two mentality leads to stasis, followed by irrelevance, followed by a painful decline. I'm Jeff Bezos. And if you feel trapped in a cycle where your bank account never seems to grow despite your hard work, I want you to stop and listen very carefully. Most people will tell you that escaping low income is about working harder. They're wrong. Efficiency is about doing things right. Effectiveness is about doing the right things. If you scroll away from this video right now, you aren't just missing a finance tip. You are actively choosing to stay in the day two cycle. You are choosing to ignore the framework that built Amazon from a garage startup to a global empire. Today, I'm going to pull back the curtain on the 3 specific cognitive shifts in operational tactics I use to move from being resource-constrained to resource-abundant. If you miss even one of these 3 pillars, your foundation will remain brittle. You will continue to trade your most precious asset, time, for a diminishing return. But if you stay until the very last word of this video, you will have a roadmap that most MBAs pay 6 figures to understand. Before we dive into the mechanics of wealth creation, do yourself a favor. This channel, Jeff Bezos Highlight, is your headquarters for the day one mindset. Subscribe right now. Hit that notification bell. Because in the world of high-velocity decision-making, being late is the same as being wrong. Are you ready to stop surviving and start building? Let's get to work. Pillar 1. The high-velocity decision engine and the Type 1 versus Type 2 trap. Let's talk about the first and most critical lever for escaping a low-income life, high-velocity decision-making. Most people trapped in a low-income cycle aren't failing because they are lazy. They are failing because they are paralyzed by indecision, or worse, they are spending massive amount of cognitive energy on the wrong kinds of decisions. When you have very little, every dollar feels like a life-or-death choice. This creates a scarcity mindset that slows you down. In business and in life, slowness is a precursor to death. At Amazon, we categorize decisions into 2 types. If you want to build wealth, you must learn to distinguish between them immediately. Type 1 decisions are one-way doors. These are consequential and nearly irreversible. If you walk through and you don't like what you see on the other side, you can't get back to where you were. These decisions should be made slowly, deliberately, with great consultation and high-quality data. Choosing a life partner, taking on a massive amount of predatory debt, or quitting a stable job without a validated MVP, minimum viable product, for your next move, those are Type 1 doors. However, most decisions you face are Type 2 decisions. They are two-way doors. If you make a suboptimal Type 2 decision, you don't have to live with the consequences forever. You can reopen the door and walk back through. If you start a side hustle and it fails, you've lost some time and a little capital, but you've gained data. You are still alive. The tragedy of the low-income earner is that they treat every decision like a Type 1 door. They overanalyze. They wait for perfect information. They wait for the right time to start a business or learn a high-value skill. But here is the Jeff Bezos reality check. If you wait for 90% of the information, you are already late. You should be making decisions when you have about 70% of the information you wish you had. To escape low income, you must increase your decision velocity. You need to be a bias for action machine. While your peers are debating which book to read or which platform to use, you should have already launched 3 experiments. Think of your life as a series of experiments. If you double the number of experiments you do per year, you're going to double your inventiveness and your earning potential. Low income is often a result of a day 2 mentality, where you follow processes and avoid risk to protect the little you have. But day 1 is about being a professional amateur. It's about being willing to be misunderstood for long periods. When I started Amazon, I was sitting in a garage with 70% of the information. I didn't know if people would trust putting their credit cards into a website, but I knew that if I didn't walk through that door, I would regret it more than if I failed. If you want to move the needle on your net worth, you must stop agonizing over the price of a coffee and start agonizing over the speed of your execution. Are you moving fast enough? Are you making enough Type 2 decisions? If the answer is no, you are staying stagnant. You are essentially choosing to be poor by refusing to be wrong. In the next section, we're going to talk about how to stop trading your hours for dollars and start building the flywheel that generates wealth while you sleep. But first, ask yourself, what is one Type 2 decision you've been putting off because you're afraid of a door that isn't even locked? Pillar 2, the personal flywheel, breaking the linear income trap. Now that you've mastered decision velocity, we have to talk about the flywheel. At Amazon, we don't look at our business as a list of separate tasks. We look at it as a virtuous cycle where each piece feeds the next, creating momentum that eventually becomes unstoppable. If you are stuck in a low-income bracket, it is almost certainly because you are trapped in linear income. Linear income is a one-to-one relationship. You work 1 hour. You get paid one set amount of dollars. If you stop working, the money stops. This is the ultimate day 2 trap. It's a trap because your time is a finite resource. You cannot scale yourself if your income is tied to your physical presence. To escape, you must build a personal flywheel. Imagine a massive, heavy stone wheel, a flywheel, mounted horizontally on an axle. It's 20 feet in diameter and 2 feet thick. To get it moving, you have to push with every ounce of your strength. You push for hours, and the wheel barely budges. You push for days, and it finally completes one single, agonizingly slow rotation. This is the stage most of you are in right now. You're working a job. You're trying to save $50 a week. You're learning a skill at night. It feels like nothing is happening, but you don't stop. You keep pushing in one consistent direction. Eventually, the wheel makes a second rotation, then a third. It starts to pick up its own momentum. The weight of the wheel, which was once your enemy, now becomes your greatest ally. This is compounding. In the context of your finances, your flywheel starts with high-value skills. Low-income work is usually low-skill work, meaning anyone can be trained to do it in a week. To get the flywheel moving, you must obsessively acquire a skill that is rare and valuable. Whether it's software architecture, high-stakes negotiation, or understanding the algorithms of the new economy, this is your first push. Once you have the skill, you don't just sell for an hourly wage. You leverage it. Leverage comes in 3 forms: capital, people, and code/media. Number 1, capital. This is the money you've scraped together. Instead of buying a new phone, a depreciating asset, you put that money into the flywheel, investing in tools or assets that grow while you sleep. Number 2, people. Eventually, you hire others to do the Type 2 tasks, so you can focus on the Type 1 decisions. Number 3, code and media. This is the most powerful leverage for someone starting with nothing. A video like this one works for the creator 24/7. A piece of software solves problems while the developer is at the beach. When these 3 things work together, the flywheel spins faster. Your skill creates value. That value generates capital. That capital buys you more time. That time allows you to acquire even higher-level skills. Most people fail because they try to push the flywheel in 5 different directions at once. They try one side hustle for a month, get bored, and try another. They lose all their momentum. At Amazon, we didn't try to be everything to everyone on day 1. We were Earth's most customer-centric bookstore. We pushed that one wheel until it was spinning so fast that we could easily expand into music, then electronics, then everything else. If you're low income, your job is to find your bookstore. What is the one skill or niche where you can be world-class? Stop looking for get-rich-quick schemes. They are friction on your flywheel. Instead, look for get-rich-big systems. The momentum is coming, but only if you stay obsessed with the long term. Remember, in the short term, we are often disappointed by how little we achieve. In the long term, we are blown away by how much we've built. Are you pushing a wheel, or are you just running on a treadmill? One leads to an empire. The other leads to exhaustion. Pillar 3, customer obsession for the self, marketing your unique value. We've talked about your internal engine, your decisions, and your flywheel. But now we have to talk about the customer. In the context of your career and your income, your customer is whoever pays you. It might be an employer, a client, or a million strangers on the internet. Most people in a low-income bracket are competitor-obsessed. They look at what their co-workers are doing, what the person in the next cubicle is earning, or what the average salary is for their role. They fight for crumbs. At Amazon, we don't care what our competitors are doing. We are customer-obsessed. We wake up every morning terrified, not of our competition, but of our customers. Because our customers are the ones who have the money, and they are wonderfully, beautifully dissatisfied. Their expectations are never static. They go up every single year. To escape low income, you must adopt this exact mindset for yourself. You need to stop asking, what is the minimum I need to do to keep this job? And start asking, what does my customer actually need that they aren't even aware of yet? When you are just an employee, you are a commodity. Commodities are traded based on price. And in the labor market, that means the lowest possible wage. To break out, you must become a premium offering. You do this by identifying the big three customer needs: lower prices, faster delivery, and better selection. How does that apply to you? Lower prices. Efficiency: can you do the work of 3 people by using AI, automation, or superior systems? If you save a company $100,000 a year, it is easy to demand a $20,000 raise. You aren't an expense anymore. You are a profit center. Faster delivery. Velocity: can you turn around high-quality results in half the time of your peers? Speed is a moat. If I know I can give you a project and it will be done perfectly by tomorrow, you're worth 5 times more to me than the average worker who takes a week. Better selection. Specialization: can you offer a combination of skills that no one else has? If you are a great accountant, you're a commodity. If you are a great accountant who speaks fluent Mandarin and understands blockchain logistics, you are a monopoly of one. Escaping low income requires you to move from the red ocean, where everyone is fighting for the same low-wage scraps, to the blue ocean, where you are the only one providing a specific high-level value. But here is the Jeff Bezos secret. You must be willing to be misunderstood. When we started Prime, people thought we were crazy. Giving away free shipping? It looked like a path to bankruptcy, but we knew it was what the customer wanted. When you start investing in yourself, spending your weekends learning to code or building a brand instead of going out, people will misunderstand you. They will call you lucky when the flywheel finally starts spinning. Ignore them. Stay obsessed with the value you provide. If you provide 10x the value of your current paycheck, the market will eventually catch up. And if your current customer, your boss, doesn't see it, because you've built your flywheel and your decision velocity is high, you can walk through a Type 2 door and find a customer who does. Wealth isn't something that happens to you. It is a byproduct of the value you relentlessly obsess over for others. If you aren't making enough money, it's because you haven't yet figured out how to make yourself indispensable. Find a prime version of yourself, and the income will follow. I'm Jeff Bezos, and I will tell you that we have covered the mechanics of your decisions, the power of your flywheel, and the necessity of customer obsession. But none of these frameworks matter if you don't have the courage to start. When I was deciding whether to leave my high-paying job on Wall Street to start an internet bookstore in a garage, I used something I call the regret minimization framework. I imagined myself at 80 years old, looking back on my life. I knew that at 80, I wouldn't regret having tried this thing called the internet and failing. I wouldn't even remember the failed experiment. But I knew with absolute certainty that I would regret never having tried at all. That thought would haunt me every single day. If you are currently in a low-income situation, you are standing at a crossroads. You can continue to play it safe, stay in the day 2 lane, and avoid the risk of being misunderstood. Or you can embrace the day 1 mindset. You can start pushing your flywheel today, even if it only moves an inch. The gap between where you are and where you want to be is filled with the decisions you are currently too afraid to make. Don't let your 80-year-old self look back and wonder what if. The resources are there. The information is at your fingertips. The only thing missing is your bias for action. This framework resonated with you. It's because you know deep down that you were meant to build, not just consume. But knowledge without execution is just a hallucination. Here is your first high-velocity decision of the day. 1. Comment below with the one Type 2 decision you're going to make in the next 24 hours to start your flywheel. Public accountability is a powerful tool. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Jeff Bezos' Highlight. We are building a community of day one thinkers who refuse to accept mediocrity. And share this video with one person who is stuck in a linear income trap. Helping others build their flywheel is the fastest way to accelerate your own. Success is not a destination. It's a relentless, obsessive process. Go out there, stay focused on the long term, and remember, it is still day one. I'll see you in the next highlight.